Hey, everybody. So excited. This is a very special day for us, and
It
a
is.
special podcast and a special live chat. We found out today Feel Better Fast and Make It Last made the Christian Book Association's bestseller list. Yay.
That's awesome.
And we have some very special news for you. But first, one of the reviews from the Brain Warriors Way podcast. I really appreciate how Tana has shared her personal story. I
Aw.
can really relate and appreciate the inspiration. I love the work you are both putting out to the world. Thank you. Keep up the amazing work.
Well, thank you.
We love when you leave reviews. It's our payment, if you will.
Yeah.
It makes us happy.
It really is.
And so, but today we have a very special announcement. Tana Amen, wife of Daniel Amen, mother of Chloe, is getting her second degree Kempo black belt. She is a very dangerous person. If I ever thought I'd be rude to her, I've just put that aside. But I couldn't be more proud of you.
Thank you. I'm super excited. So I just turned 50. One of my goals.
Did you really?
I did.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So I turned 50 on the 1st, and one of my goals was always, I told myself that I was going to be healthier at 50 than I was in my 40s. And the truth is it started off a little rocky. I was a little worried because things towards that 49 mark I felt like we're going sort of the wrong way. I had surgery, and then just a bunch of my neck. I hurt my neck and my back, and I'm like, oh wow, this is getting more challenging. But true to the warrior mentality, if you've read Brain Warriors Way, and like this woman says, I've shared my story, it's like when things start to get really hard, and you always say the best way to get me to do something is tell me I can't. There's that little bit of just a fighter in me. And
it's also called oppositional
yes.
defiant disorder.
Yeah, but if you channel it correctly, it can be very powerful. So when I started to really not feel well, I started to slow down, and then all of a sudden I went, nope, not going to happen. So I started to really fight it. And so what I want to really leave you guys with, I love the expression, a black belt is just a white belt who never quit. And so really, so many times in this process of getting my black belt, I'm going to relate this to your health. So many times in the process of getting my black belt, I was told you can't practice because first it was my heart rate because of the medication I take for the thyroid cancer. Then it was my back. I have scoliosis. There were all these reasons why I couldn't practice. And initially I would listen to it.
And hitting things makes your spine worse.
And my favorite line in Creed is when he says, he sees Creed hitting the bags because he's really mad about something, and he goes, well, it's a lot less expensive than seeing a shrink. Well, that's how I feel about it. It's so fun to just go hit stuff. There's this huge endorphin release. So I love it so much.
I've actually never had that.
Oh, I love it so much. I can't even tell you what it feels like to just go hit stuff and kick stuff. And it's just ugh. So anyways.
I'm grateful you don't do it to me.
Yeah, no. You got to do it to the right. Do it in a very safe environment. It's just so fun.
So what are some of...
But let me finish what I was going to say.
Okay.
So I started to feel like I was going downhill. And I'm like, no, this can't happen. So what I want to tell you, going into the new year, everyone does this whole New Year, New You thing. And I'm turning 50. I turned 50. And I decided, okay, I know the Brain Warriors Way. I wrote about it, but now it's time to really step back and think about it like the people who read our stuff, right? What do we tell them? Get your numbers checked. Go get assessed, right? And so I started doing that from ground zero. I started having everything assessed. And so
for people who don't remember,
right.
So it's mastery. How do you
Right.
develop mastery over your brain and your body and your life? And it starts with mindset.
Right.
So you have to have the mindset of a warrior,
Right.
which is armed, prepared, and aware.
Right.
And so your mindset is right. And then the A is assessment, just like you just said.
And so I'm going and I'm getting, these assessments. And one thing I want to add is you should have a good trainer. So Master White is my...
Well, so S is sustenance and T is training.
Right.
And so you always say you don't start on
You don't
fight
start
day.
training on fight day. You have to train and be prepared for fight day way in advance. Because if you start training on fight day, you're going to lose, right? So I have an amazing instructor, Master Bob White. He's just awesome. And you should have someone that you trust that guides you. It's a physician or a mentor or someone that you trust to help lead you on this journey, to help you get well. And so we think of getting well as you need to have a warrior mindset. And that's what we want you to start thinking about. So in this assessment process, like I started thinking about all the things I was concerned about, and I just started getting them assessed one by one, check it off, right? Time to get a colonoscopy, I'm 50, right? Time to get all my blood work redone, time to get all of this stuff done, my thyroid, all of this stuff, my neck and my back. Now, I still practice, even though I was told because my neck and my back don't do it anymore.
Right.
But you make adjustments. So I'm willing to make the adjustments. And I never had the idea of getting my black belt in mind because I was told, okay, well, you're probably never going to be able to practice like that. And all of a sudden, enough time went by and I realized my master came to me and he said, it's time for you to test. I'm like, what? Wait, I was just doing it for the journey. I was literally and truly enjoying the journey. And that's what I think that we try to tell people is, really focus on the day, the journey, enjoying the moment, and being the best you can each day, and you'll be surprised at what you can accomplish.
So white belt that never
Quits.
quit.
Right. Because if you see some of the beasts I train with, like I'm not one of them, right? But I just show up. I give my best every time I go in, and I always tell myself, when I walk in that door, I'm going to leave it on the mat. I'm going to leave whatever I have on the mat today. I'm going to give my best, whatever it is. And if you just think that way every day in life, what can you accomplish? What can you get done? So.
And E is essence. So it's sort of like why. We
Pain to
talk
purpose.
about all the time. R is responsibility because it's not about you. It's about generations of you. And why it's years long. Now, I know I just wrote a book called Feel Better Fast and Make It Last because that's what everybody wants. Nobody wants to feel better slowly. But the Brain Warrior's Way is forever.
Right.
It's you never stop. And yes, you're going to fail or you're going to have a hard
Yeah, I don't
time.
like the word fail. You're going to fall. But get up.
But you just turn around. I was somewhere recently, I think for public television, and I was raising money for public television. We were talking about if you want to keep your brain healthy or rescue it if it's headed to the dark place, you have to turn around. So
Right.
if you're going to the dark place, right? If things aren't working for you, you've fallen off
Right.
the wagon, if you will, the wagon to brain health. Turn around.
Right.
Right? So many
See,
people, when they make a mistake or they get into a bad rut, they go, oh, well, I've fallen.
So I'm just going to stay here.
So I'm just going to stay on the ground.
What the frick is that?
And we have a new grandbaby,
Right.
Haven, who's almost 6 months old. And when you put her on the floor, she moves her feet.
Right. Oh, it's the cutest thing you've ever seen. She literally looks like like one of those little wind-up things you put in water. She looks like she's so funny because she wants to go so bad.
And so when she starts to walk, which is going to be soon, sort of like her mother, she is going to fall over and over and over
And
again.
when you practice martial arts, you fall over and over and over again. So you got to learn how to do it safely. You only fail when you don't get up. That's it.
You're so intense.
You don't get to be a second-degree black belt without being intense.
So for those of you who don't know, she's a very, very dangerous woman. And
I'm
she
actually
not
a
only has a
protector.
black belt in
I am-
Taekwondo, she's now getting her second-degree black belt in Kempo. And it's because she shows up on a regular basis. So if you're struggling, the issue is don't quit, show up.
And the more you
And
fall, the more experience you have in getting up.
So get your mindset right, assess your brain, know your important numbers. Scans completely help. We'll talk more about that. Sustenance, food is just absolutely critical. Now, when I first did Change Your Brain, Change Your Body, we started the first class December 1st.
Yeah, see, yeah, I want
We
to talk about
started
this.
it December
Yes.
1st. The week of Christmas, the average weight loss was 2.5 pounds. I love that. There's no rule you have to get fat.
Not only
during
no
the
rule,
holidays.
it's irritating to me. So this is like, it's like, what is this cycle that we do? This really self-defeating cycle. I just want you to stop and think about it for a minute. And I've done it. I did it for years before I changed my lifestyle, okay? What is that self-defeating cycle? Every year. Okay, I'm going to stop taking care of myself starting in October, right?
Halloween.
With Halloween. Stop taking care of myself. I'm just going to like give up because I know it's going to be too hard. Too hard. What? Aren't you so glad that the warriors that like defend us, our police officers, our soldiers, don't give up when it gets hard? So you don't give up. And so just because it's hard, so that you give up, you eat terrible, you stop sleeping well, time change, travel, all this stuff happens, the stress of the holidays, you gain a bunch of weight. Most people start to feel really lousy about themselves and physically lousy. More heart attacks on Christmas Day than any other day of the year. That should tell you something right there. So we go through this process, this self-defeating process, and then we do, oh, just kidding, new year, new you. What is that?
It's insane.
It's insane. It's insanity. So stop that. You got to train all year. That does not mean you can't have fun. That's why in the cookbook, there are like over 20, there are like 25 desserts and like treats and things like that. Healthy things you can have that
And the
make you
cookbook
feel.
actually did really good last week, so I'm very happy.
Right,
Brain
the
Warriors
holidays.
Way
It always does well during the
cookbook. And
holidays.
you know what I tell people, and the longer I do this, the more I begin to understand, you are a habitual creature. You will do what
You are
your
used to.
brain has done.
Right.
And in the Brain Warriors Way cookbook, you just have to find 20 recipes, and there are over 100 recipes. You only have to find 20
125.
recipes you love that love you back.
And there's a whole holiday guide on how to do holidays, not only in a healthy way with all the healthy recipes, but if you go somewhere and you are going to have a bite of something, don't sabotage your entire plan. You know, there's a whole way to like make
So
the
we're going
holidays
to talk
work.
more about that coming up. But for those of you watching, listening, send Tana a congratulations note. I'm so proud of her, and I want you to be proud of her too. Stay with
And I
us.
want to say thank you to all of the people who have mentored me and helped me along the way. It's been quite the journey, and you don't do it without having a team of people. You must have a community to help you through. So thank you, Master Bob White, Barbara White, and just so many people that have helped me along the way.
Tana and I want to say happy holidays to all of
Happy
you,
holidays.
who've been, with us for a long time, or if you're new to the Brain Warriors Way podcast, it's a labor of love we do for you. We have a podcast review. This one is from Maya Ever. I woke up with so much anxiety. I was so angry. I don't know how this started playing on my phone in the morning, but it
funny.
came on like my morning alarm, even after I cleared the cache.
Oh, that's funny.
But I started to like what I was hearing because I've been in such a dark and lonely place.
Oh.
I'm thinking I now have a way out.
Aw.
So thank you.
Oh, that makes me so happy.
Even though you may not see this, we did. Thank you. I
Aw.
feel I have some morning ammunition,
That makes me so happy.
like a little bit of cocaine.
Yeah.
Actually, I've never done cocaine.
It's like, no, it's like petting a puppy, like that warm feeling. So I want
So
to...
we would just say it's dopamine hitting our nucleus, succumb by, and it makes us happy. Thank you. We are grateful to be helpful to you.
You know, and like this person is like, as going into the holiday, I think more and more people might be feeling some of this, right? So it's people like, I mean, all of the Hallmark stuff on the TV it's not real for a lot of people. I mean, even my family right now, this year. So about 3 years ago, we had a really rough holiday. My mom lost her husband. This year, we lost 2 family members going into the holidays. We had 1 suicide in the family and then a death. And it's literally, that was last week we had it, and right before Thanksgiving. like 2 days before Thanksgiving. And the holidays are not an easy time for a lot of people. And even though I'm so grateful because my little nest is safe and happy, and I always focus on that. When people in your life that are very close to you, my mom, my uncle, my aunt, whoever, when they're suffering, the holidays are hard for a lot of people. So we need to like really, acknowledge that as we go into these holidays, and really we want to like talk about the holidays and how to be healthy, but also, the people who are having a hard time, and really focus on that and what they can do.
Well, and I figured out one of the reasons why the holidays are so hard. I mean, there are many reasons. It's the chronic stress, feeling like you have to be perfect and buy the perfect gift for all these people.
Oh, that's so stressful.
It's stressful. And then you hang out with people that throughout the year you've chosen not to hang out with. And so,
Isn't that the
but you
truth?
believe you should. And I adore my family. And I have a big
You
family.
have an amazing family.
But we were at dinner the other night, and one of my sisters started telling stories about me when I was a child and how much of a troublemaker I was. And compared to the patients I see, I was a frickin' angel. But I found myself irritated, right? I'm like a double board certified psychiatrist.
And you're
I
listening to
founded
stories
Amen
when you were
clinics,
7.
And, I've written 30 books. I've done some cool things in my life. And here I am for about the 50th time listening to the stories of when I was a child and I irritated someone. And I found myself leaving early, irritated. And I go, oh, this is why the holidays are hard for people. Because they have to hear these stories about themselves, which of course have been embellished over the years,
Right.
over and over and over again.
So, and that's true. That's true from your perspective, right? That's how it feels to you. And so I just want to you always have to tell the other side of the story too. So the stories had started out about your sister and what a troublemaker she was. And I think she did that to shift the attention away from her. So,
But don't do that.
Okay, hold
this
on.
holiday season. Because when we first got together, you were a runner. And you'd come and go.
Like
and
the
come
runaway
and go.
bride, right?
Yeah, and you made my life a living hell. And I'm so grateful, right? But when I would bring it up, it would just really make you
because I want to
sad.
focus on now, right?
Right. And so this holiday season, so we're going to give you some tips on how to manage the holidays. This holiday season, because you'll get a laugh, don't do it
To
at
someone
the
else.
expense of someone else.
But what I want to point out too, one of the tips is imagine, yes, because you need to finish this point.
You guys don't see this, but whenever she wants to make a point, she kicks me under the table.
Well, it's
I'm
better
like,
than punching you in the arm.
Yes, there are other options, right? Another option would be put your hand nicely on my leg.
Because you switch gear. You don't understand. His brain, he switches gears so fast, he moves on to the next point, and I don't get to finish this point. Okay, so now I'm trying to politely do this, and you just threw me under the bus and told them my little strategy.
That wasn't polite.
So,
I have bruises.
no, if I punch you in the arm, then you'll have bruises. Anyways, so what I was going to say is when this happens to you, if someone does this to you, the point I want to make, okay, it might be hurting your feelings a little, like it hurt your feelings. And we left, and I had no idea your feelings were hurt, okay? And I was enjoying the stories so much, and they didn't, to other people, they don't sound the way they feel to you. So just remember that. And it doesn't make it less irritating necessarily, but to me it was like, I only know you as Dr. Daniel Amen, whatever. It's fun for me to see the mischievous little kid, right? So that's sometimes why people do it, isn't so much because they mean it to be mean. Just remember the intention sometimes. So, it's fun for me to know the kid, the child. And so they don't always mean it the way you're taking it. And I think that it's important to remember that so that you don't feel necessarily wounded.
Holiday tip number 1, watch the stories you tell and how they'll impact others.
And an addendum to that, watch the story you tell yourself if you hear a story about yourself. What's the story you're telling yourself about what they're saying about you?
2 is be grateful. That is so important. That's why we celebrate Thanksgiving. It's why we celebrate Christmas. It's why we celebrate the holidays. It's about gratitude. Too often people get caught up in the stress of I have to do
Oh my
this, I have
gosh,
to
the
do
gifts
that.
and the blah.
And many of you probably read Gary Chapman's book on the 5 love languages. And gifts are a love language for some people. But like they're totally not for you.
For anyone in
and
our
they're
family.
totally not for me, and they're totally not for Chloe.
And so it makes it stressful that we have to like go do this gift thing because none of us really like gifts.
Yeah, it's just not a big thing. The third tip is take a time out. You need to sleep because if you don't sleep, you're going to be irritated. You're going to have less blood flow to your frontal lobes. And if you have less frontal lobe function, you're going to eat the weapons of mass destruction, right? They're everywhere, whether it's donuts, holiday donuts,
Yeah, no,
holiday
even
cookies,
I'm like,
holiday cakes,
if
holiday...
I'm really tired, I'm susceptible to like grabbing something, just like that idea, like, oh, I need to stay awake. Like I need to like push through. And so you'll grab something to eat to do that.
Right, so if we think of the brain warrior's way, well, what's the war? Well, there's clearly a skirmish going on during the holidays with all of the candy and bad food, what we refer to on this program as weapons of mass destruction. ISIS has nothing on our food industry. The next one is learn to let go and forgive. I guess I should do that. And in Feel Better Fast and Make It Last, I actually quote Everett Worthington's research on reach for forgiveness. So remember what happened. My sister irritated me. That's the R. E is empathize with her. That's what you were doing. A is altruistically give the gift of forgiveness. Commit to it to someone. And then hold on, not to the hurt, but to the forgiveness.
And if you are having trouble with this because it's too quick for this podcast, go back and listen to our podcasts on forgiveness. We have several, and they're powerful. So it's really important because if you can't forgive them, forgive them for you. So go back and listen to those. It's really important.
So the next one is repeat a mantra, or just have a saying in your head to help anchor you. I like my morning one and my night one, which is today is going to be a great day, and what went well today. And I actually go to sleep at night. I say a prayer, and then I just start at the beginning of my day looking for what went well today.
Yeah.
And the reason I do that is I believe it sets my dreams up to be happy. Because dreams are actually a consolidation of what happened during the day, and they actually help you remember things. And of course, you want to learn from the challenges in the day. But before I go to bed, I want to think about, well, what went well today?
It's so true. And here we are during the holiday season, and I got like a bunch of stuff happened day before yesterday that like sort of sidetracked my day. I didn't go to bed doing my normal routine, my ritual of praying and then like saying my mantras and waking up. I got woken up really early to get busy, and what happened? My day went completely sideways, off track, and I know that happens to a lot of you. So just try to really make this part of your day, because my day just went. We all do it. We have days like that where you just go completely off track, and it leaks. It leaks all over people when that happens. So. Just keep going.
I'm feeling the leaking all over.
Well, fortunately, you're not one of the people. Usually, you're not one of the people. Fortunately, he's usually not one of the people, but occasionally. So, it's usually people on the freeway. But, anyways.
Do you want to share?
No, I do not. It was
just
not
giving you an opportunity
It was
to
not
share.
attractive, but anyways.
Now everybody's wondering.
No, I
about
sit
it.
in my car yelling, but I don't like. No hand gestures, but anyways.
And I very rarely get mad on the road because I know he or she may have a gun in their car.
Well, that's why I don't do hand gestures.
And I treat
I just yell
a
in my
lot
car.
of dysfunctional brains. And, I'm always thinking to myself, I wonder what the brain of that person is like.
Right.
And it might not be great.
But if you're not sleeping, yours isn't either, and that's where the problem comes in.
Yes. Talk it out. This is an absolute must. Let friends and families know when you're emotionally overwhelmed. And if you're really struggling and it's not getting better, get help for yourself.
I just have to tell a story. Because it was like my favorite thing. I was so overwhelmed. This is like that period where I was telling you, like everything was just like coming at me. Everybody needed something. My phone was ringing off the hook, and I literally just felt like if my phone rings one more time, I'm literally gonna throw it at the wall and just like, I just want to crack the thing. I was just, I don't know if you've had days like that where it's just like, if I can't take one more thing. I was so tired. I got home so late. There was just so many people like I felt like that needed something. We had deaths in the family. Stuff was going on, and I just couldn't. I was being pulled in different directions, right? And I was just like, I don't know which way to turn first, and I was just overwhelmed. And I remember, like, I woke up in the morning, and it was 8:30. I never sleep till 8:30, and we're usually up by 6:30, ish. And so I slept, and I'm like, I woke up, I like started to jump out of bed. I'm like, why did you let me sleep that late? Like, I was like, he's like,
because whenever I wake you up early, you get mad at me.
but that's not what you said. Because usually I wake up early. You said because you needed to sleep. And I'm like, no, I needed to get up early. You're like, no, you didn't. You needed to sleep. And you were very calm and you were very gentle. And you came over and you like laid down next to me and you gave me a big hug. And I'm like, no, I have this to do, I have this to do, I have this. And I started to go through my list. And you said, so what can I take off your plate today? And you literally went through one by one and like 4 of the major things that I had to do. One of them was a TV appearance. That's a big thing. And you're like, nope, I already canceled that. Nope, I already took that off your plate. Nope, I already canceled. And there was like 4 things, and I was just like, I literally, like, I was just, in that moment, I felt so in love with you. I was just like, those little, like someone, if you have someone that you know is going through that and you do something like that for them, that's money in the bank, I'm telling you. So that's, and as far as relationships go, that was amazing.
So that was actually conscious. The sneaky way I got you to fall in love with me. Because, whenever we're together, guys go, how did he get her?
Oh, stop it.
It's you do something nice for someone they love. And, or you do something nice for them.
Right.
I mean, that's what love is.
And you do that a lot.
Right. I mean,
You do that a lot.
love is nurturing.
That's actually easy for
and
you.
decreasing the stress of others. And when you do that, it's money in the bank. So emotionally, it makes me feel good. I'm obviously happier if you're less stressed.
Oh my gosh, my whole day went different. My whole day went different.
All right, stay with us. We're going to talk more. Tips for having a brain healthy holiday.
I will embrace my many strengths.
I will not be tormented by my past.
I will find the right balance.
I will be calm and courageous.
I will be free. I am not just bipolar.
I am not just autism.
I'm not just depression.
I'm not just ADD.
I am not just anxiety.
I am not just OCD.
I am not just PTSD.
Welcome back. We are talking about the Brain Warriors Way Holiday Guide to Sanity. What are the things you can do to keep your mental health healthy during the holidays, which are filled with stress?
Yep.
Before we get there, first-time listener, Seth AC9, hopeful about the holidays. My wife has been following Daniel and Tana for a year or so, as I have walked through issues with depression, anxiety, PTSD, etc. Listening to your podcast on a whim, I found myself encouraged. What I loved the most was the emphasis on gratitude and giving thanks. I've done this in the past and found it was monumental. 5 to 10 minutes a day of intentional thanksgiving. It's been a while since I've done it regularly, knowing that it actually changes my brain chemistry, breathes life into my soul. I will begin doing this again daily.
I love that. Breathes life into my soul.
Seth,
I like that.
AC9. Thank you so much. That is
Breathes
powerful
life into my soul.
for us.
It does. It actually does. We often say it's food for the soul. So it breathes life into my soul.
I love that. So, what about the holidays are stressful for you?
Number one thing, and you guys have heard me say this before, I hate shopping. I hate the mall more than I hate just about anything on the planet. Do it during the holidays, and that's like the mall on steroids. And the second you pull into the parking lot, what happens to me? I'm like, here! Like, I'm just like, it's the worst thing ever. So the one thing that does help is online shopping. But before I had Chloe, my family had, as an adult, I mean, when I was a child, of course, we did gifts, but when I became an adult, it was my idea. I hate shopping. It's just, and the one thing that I always pinpointed as being stressful were gifts, was going to the mall, buying gifts. So as soon as I became an adult in my early 20s, I was like, I came up with the idea, I'm like, can we just not do gifts? I don't want to do gifts. If there were little kids, that was fine, but there were no little kids in my family at the time. And we made the decision not to do gifts. And I then loved the holidays. Because for us, it's more of a religious holiday. It's a focus on gratitude. And so, but when you have kids, it
Well,
becomes
when you
different.
have 60,
Until I married you.
70 people in your
Right.
family.
So
it
when I married
becomes
Daniel and
impossible.
when I had Chloe, it changed, right? Because now I have a little one, and I married into this massive family. And I have to say that is fun. We go to your house, and there's usually 60 to 80 people there. So that is that's a whole different thing. But it's the gifts. It's the focus on, if I forget someone, it's taboo. If I don't do Christmas cards, I look bad. I'm like, what is that? That is just insanity. I've never been the whole perfect little, like, socialite
Susie
wife.
Homemaker?
No. Never gonna be. It's just, no, it's irritating. I was born the wrong sex. I don't have
the
enough.
expectation that is actually so stressful.
Yes.
But it's mostly the expectation you put on yourself.
Yeah, but I have the right spouse because you don't put that expectation on me. And we agree on
And
that.
actually, if you saw our home, it's beautiful at Christmas because you take time to make it. For me, I mean, I'm like here to help, but it's not.
Yeah, no, my space is important to me. My space, my nest is important to me. There are other things that are not important to me. The fact that I don't send you a Christmas card does not mean I love you less. It means that taking the time to do Christmas cards is irritating. That's all it means. I'd rather talk to you, have a cup of coffee with you. It's just whatever. I just see
So
like,
let's help them with the holidays. So never forget the 18-40-60 rule. It says when you're 18, you worry about what everybody's thinking of you. When you're 40, you don't give a damn what anybody thinks about you. And when you're 60, you realize no one has been thinking about you.
and I'm 50, so I'm right at that.
all.
Yeah, and I'm at that middle point at
And
50.
so if you're doing things because you don't want to disappoint people, they're probably only going to think about it for like 10 seconds unless they have OCD.
And do you care?
And then if they're disappointed and it's really not about love for you and the emotional connection, then you just have to rethink that relationship.
Right.
And when I stopped caring about what other people think of me, and for me, it was survival, right? Doing what we do here at Amen Clinics, it's so different than what our colleagues do. And I've had people hate me for decades. And it's like perfectly okay with me.
Right.
It's like if you hate me, that's your business, because I love me. I think what we do is awesome. And
Same thing.
getting to that secure place where your opinion about you is the primary one, I think that's important.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I spent my 20s completely almost paralyzed by this worry about thinking, like, what other people think of me, or feeling like I had to be a certain way, do things perfectly. And somehow in my late 30s, well, I mean, it was intentional. I did a lot of growth in my late 30s, early 40s. It was just so freeing. I cannot tell you. It's like just releasing chains. So it's, yeah, going back to that, that's why I love, like, my 40s and going into 50 is just the best time of my life, because you just, all that emotional baggage.
But it took work.
It took work,
Right?
intentional
So
work.
those of you who are struggling, and people struggle more during the holidays, there is work to do.
And it's worth it.
In the Brain Warriors way, as we talk about, this idea of mastery, the first thing is you got to get your mind right. That don't believe every stupid thing you think. That it's a war, so you have to be armed, prepared, and aware. If you're really struggling, because depression is higher in winter months, starting in October, November, and then December, could it be your vitamin D levels low because
Right.
you live in a place where there's not enough sun? Is your thyroid low? Lord knows you know the impact of abnormal thyroid. High can cause anxiety, low often causes depression, and sometimes it's just suboptimal. So it's within the normal range, but it's low normal, and you just sort of feel like a wet noodle. And
Same with female hormones.
so optimizing your hormones, absolutely critical. And then sustenance. So why do people feel bad during the holidays? Because they eat like crap. And so if you're eating a lot of sugar or foods that quickly turn to sugar, bread, pasta, potatoes, rice, sugar, they're pro-inflammatory, and we know that inflammation is associated with depression,
Yeah.
and also with cognitive impairment. So I do not eat badly during the holidays. Why? People go, oh, well, you're just a bummer. And I'm like, no, it's because I love myself.
Right. I don't want to feel
It's
like,
because I don't want
I
to
don't wanna
have
feel
to
bad.
suffer in January.
Right.
And and we had mentioned this recently, that we're creatures of habit.
right.
And because of you and your 7 cookbooks now, because of you, I eat foods I love
Right. You don't feel like you're suffering.
that love me back. So there is no suffering. People go, oh, that's so boring. I'm like, no, being boring
No, we had
is having
brownies.
joint pain.
So we had brownies on Thanksgiving,
And they were really good.
but they were sugar-free.
Yeah, because you know how to make them.
Right.
And you
They
have
didn't taste sugar-free, but they were.
you have 25 dessert recipes,
Right.
and you just got to get your mind right. I do the right thing not because I should do the right thing, but because it's about love.
Right.
That I love myself, I love my wife, I love my life, I love my mission, I love my children, I love my grandchildren. And quite frankly, I hate being in pain.
Me too.
I don't like shoulder pain. I don't like knee
And
pain.
I'm too scared
and
of
I
being
know
sick.
when I don't do the right things, that increases inflammation in my body, because I played football and I tore my right ACL. I
too,
know
my
when I
hands.
do the right thing. So those of you that go, oh, well, that's boring. It's like, no, feeling well is never
No.
boring. Feeling pain is boring.
Well, and the idea of putting my family through more pain because I get sick or because something happens to me because I've been sick. I don't have great genetics. It just is the way it is. It is what it is. But I can control that one thing. And so the idea of me becoming sick and putting them through more pain is, it feels selfish to me. That just feels selfish to me. And so it doesn't feel right to me. They've been through enough, and I want to be healthy for them. I don't want to be a burden. And and it's not, this one last thing is, it's not about perfection. We know no one's perfect, okay? We're not perfect. It's not like we never have anything, but that is not where we live. Okay, so if we do have something, it's small amounts, it's very occasionally. It's not this whole like 1 day a week thing. That's just dumb.
Yeah, it's like 95.5.
95.5. And so if you have something, okay, don't make a big deal out of it, get back on track. If you're not doing it so much that you're staying addicted, right? So to have a few bites and move on.
And we've actually had some close friends die this year.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, as we get toward the end of the year, you think about the people you've lost. And I'm just always reminded of the story of one of my friends when we started the Daniel Plan at Saddleback Church. It was like 300 pounds and 5'10". And when his wife began to realize that his habits were going to take him away from her early, she got very upset with him. And she basically said, if you abandoned me because you didn't make good decisions, I'm not going to miss you. I'm going to be mad at you.
Right.
And so you just want to think, and I had a close friend this year who died of a heart attack, and he just wasn't as serious as he could have been. And that made me sad. So stay with us. We'll be back. Welcome back. Happy holidays to all of you. And if you're listening to this sometime in April, well, happy holidays for next year.
Or Happy Easter.
This is from WebPause. We are so powerful, yet most of us don't even begin to realize
So true.
the incredible magic of our full potential.
So true.
Daniel and Tana Amen are on the cutting edge. They offer anyone who chooses to elevate their lives to new heights an exciting way to engage life in a totally new and empowering way. That will surely change their lives.
These are some cool testimonials. I love this. It's like my favorite part.
I'm so happy you're happy.
No, it makes me
Because
happy.
when you're happy, I'm happy.
Like helps us start our day like really cool. I like it.
All right. So we agreed in this podcast, because it's the holiday, to take on alcohol.
So we're going to talk about the benefits of alcohol.
Go ahead.
So what are the benefits of alcohol? Let's be honest. Are there any benefits, any at all?
Kills
Tiny-
bacteria.
Right, kills
Right?
bacteria.
So as a nurse, you put it on people's skin. Why? To disinfect
Right.
it, to kill the bugs.
So there's some evidence.
It's been used as an anesthetic in surgery, right?
That's
To
scary.
Get people so drunk that.
Oh, well, and like in
they-
battlefields, like when they don't have anesthesia, oh yeah, we get them sloshed. Yeah, you want them to pass out.
Right.
Right. So they don't try and kill you. So that's one thing. Small, very, very, very small amounts. There's still studies being done. This is jury's out on this, I think. But there are some studies that show that very small amounts, very occasionally, may have the effect of, what is it? It's, what's the word I'm thinking of? What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. So it's
Hormesis.
hormesis. So a tiny amount is like, it's like a little bit of poison makes you stronger because it makes you almost immune to it. Same reason vegetables are good for you. But when they say that, they're talking about very small amounts, very occasionally.
Well,
and most people can't
some
do
researchers and some not. Some are saying
Right, so it's
14
out.
drinks a week is fine.
that. But most of the research shows that that leads to cancer. So, yeah.
So why am I not a fan? And it was very fashionable in the 90s to be a fan of drinking. In fact,
Oh, I
one
was a
time-
nurse, and in the hospital, it was like, oh no, have a drink a day. Have a glass of wine a day.
And you're going to Loma Linda?
Well, they don't drink at all. But a lot of the doctors that go there are not Seventh-day Adventist. So but the research was have one glass of wine a day.
Most people don't know that that Loma Linda is in
They
San
also don't
Bernardino
drink
County,
coffee or eat meat they're
and it's one of the blue zones.
right.
That people, even though it is a smog-filled place,
Full of drugs and gang.
that Loma Linda and Loma Linda specifically is
It's
one
this
of the
little bubble.
blue zones.
It's a bubble.
Where people live longer than anywhere in the world.
So I have to tell you, it was so weird. When I started working there, I used to carry my own backpack with my coffee and my meat because there was like nowhere. You couldn't find it anywhere. And I'm like, okay, there's something a little weird about this place. They were the nicest people ever. I loved my education, but I hadn't quite gotten used to this whole like temperance idea, right? So I'm like, this is just a little odd. I can't get coffee or meat or anything anywhere. And so I'm like, okay, I have to like figure this whole thing out. So I would bring all my own stuff in my contraband. So I started working in the hospital after I graduated. I began to really appreciate their lifestyle and what they're about. I'm not Seventh-day Adventist, but I really do appreciate what they're about. And as a Christian, I just love what they do. So I started working in the hospital, and all of a sudden, I'd see these, and I'm working in an ICU unit. I'm working in a level A trauma unit, but we would get overflow sometimes from the other units. And so some of the surgical patients would come in, and some of these patients were coming in, and I'm like, 99, 103, but that wasn't the most amazing part. These patients had no medical history. They were on like no medications, one medication. I'm like, what? I'm on like 3 or 4. Like, what is this? So I was like, what is going on? And you would look at them and they had no lines in their face. They're like, they just had like little tiny smile lines. And I'm like, I have more wrinkles than this person. And I was like barely 30. And so I was like, what is going on here? And I started to like put together this idea, this life of temperance might have something to it. Like there just might be something to this idea. So
in the 90s, it was very popular that alcohol was a health food. But we, starting in 1991, started looking at the brain through using brain SPECT imaging we do here at Amen Clinics. And it was so clear from the moment I ordered my first scan that alcohol was not a health food, that it prematurely ages the brain. Mm-hmm. And if your brain's not right, you're not right. And so I held on to this position because I have the scans, right? I mean, there's just nothing more powerful in my mind than getting a direct look at the organ that runs your life. But our first clinic was in Northern California near the Napa Valley. So there's always this conflict. But I held that position despite colleagues telling me I was wrong. And then it turned out that the studies that showed alcohol was associated with longevity were flawed. Mm-hmm. And
sponsored by who?
The wine industry.
Right.
And then it turned out that alcohol is directly related to 7 different kinds of cancer. So we know chemotherapy is not good for your brain. We know that chronic stress from having a diagnosis of cancer is not good for your brain. So it's associated with mouth cancer and esophageal cancer and stomach cancer and intestinal cancer and colon cancer and breast cancer and liver cancer. And I'm sorry, anything that's associated with cancer, you should limit. And in addition, and I don't even know why I'm saying this, because I make more money if you drink, right? I mean,
selfish.
you have more.
That is completely selfish.
Have more fights with your wife. You're more likely to get fired. You're more likely to be depressed. You're more likely to have trouble that you need us. That if you're a drinker than if you're not. But I'm only kidding.
So those are the physical reasons, and here.
But you're more fun when you drink.
All right, so let's clarify. So I'm not a person who never drinks. So I have an occasional glass of wine. I might have 3 glasses of wine a month. So that's on average. I'll have 2 or 3 glasses a month. And I never have more than 1 at a time because I don't like losing control. So if we're socially out, I may have a glass
and
if I'm not
like
driving.
The taste of wine.
I do.
And I don't.
With dinner, I like the taste of wine.
Right.
Yeah. So, so if you're driving, I may have a glass of wine, or if I'm at home, whatever. But I want to say something about this because it took on new meaning for me. So, well, I have an issue with drugs. Obviously, I was what'd you call it? I had shock therapy as a child. So yeah, I had shock therapy as a child with drugs. So I've always been, you know.
So what that means is you grow up with
in an
around a
environment,
lot of drugs
yeah.
where you saw horrific things.
And interestingly, alcohol was never one of them. Alcohol was never one of the drugs. My mom didn't drink. My uncle did heroin. So that was just never one of the drugs. And so alcohol was never a big thing in my house. So having a drink now and then was never a big thing. And I don't like losing control. But sadly enough, recently it became a big thing in our house. Not because of us, because my nieces, who we got out of foster care, there's a lot of addiction on that side of the family, my half-sister. So on that side of the family, there was a lot of addiction. And alcohol was heavily abused. So when they came to stay with us and, they do holidays with us now I see alcohol very differently. It's not something you can just enjoy occasionally. It's something now I have to really look at differently. There's zero alcohol during the holidays.
So last year, even this year at Thanksgiving, what were some of the things they said?
Well, okay, so yeah, that's what I wanted to bring up. So one of my nieces, this was really important, and this is why
She's 8.
This is why I see the holidays so differently now, and why we don't have alcohol at all during the holidays because of the addiction. Okay, because yeah, I can have a glass of wine, but a lot of people can't do that, and we would never ever have alcohol in the house because of the people who can't.
Right. There's some people go, well, why do I have to give up my fun because of the other person?
You don't have to. It's about love. So for me, it's about love. So it's about supporting my nieces and and the rest of the people that have issues with it. Some people can have a drink and some people cannot. So I just wouldn't. And I want the rest of my family to enjoy the holidays. For me, it's about family. So one of my nieces. So
you're giving the gift of comfort
and love
by not drinking.
Yeah, and love. So one of my nieces, though, this was when it became really clear to me. We were sitting around outside by the fire, and she said, holidays are so different now. She goes, I still am getting used to it. And I said, what do you mean? And she said, I don't know, they're just so mellow. They're so like comfortable and quiet. And they're so relaxed. And I said, I don't understand. She goes, well, there's no police being called. There's no screaming. I'm like, what? Like, because we didn't do holidays together before. They lived in another state. She's like, yeah, there's no police. There's no screaming. There's no one throwing stuff and like threatening each other. And I'm like, I literally like my jaw like almost hit the table. And we've never had a holiday like that. And she goes, well, not since I was little, but she goes, yeah, there's no alcohol. And so whether I can have a glass of wine or not is not the point. It's not worth it.
So we talked about the benefits of alcohol. On the other side, not only is it cancer, but it's associated with premature aging in your brain. I don't know about you, I'm not okay with that. It also drops your frontal lobe, so you're more likely to say something that will hurt people's feelings. And the problem with the brain is it has memory. When you say that terrible thing, that person will remember it maybe the rest of their life.
Right.
In addition, alcohol drops your frontal lobes and it increases cravings for food. Mm-hmm. So you actually eat way more calories and you don't remember that you ate way more calories. I saw one guy last year who was really headed toward Alzheimer's disease. When you looked at his brain, it was really terrible. And I'm like, how much do you drink? And he had 3 scotches a day. And I just added up the calories from the 3 1-ounce shots of scotch a day, and it was like 25 pounds of fat he was putting on his body. And just cutting out the scotch, his brain was better. His weight was better.
And I want to throw one thing in. All of the studies, there's still a lot of controversy over whether there's health benefits to small, and when I say small amounts, I mean small amounts of alcohol. Not one of them are related to hard liquor. They're all related to small amounts of wine.
Hard liquor is actually the most toxic.
Right.
So We want you to love your brain and not pickle it. We want you to love your brain and not
So
poison
how
it.
can people, so I already talked about why I don't have alcohol in my family during the holidays. If people don't have the same issues we have, because not everybody has the same issues we have. So let's just say they don't have the addiction issues, they don't have problems with police being called, they don't have problems with foster care and all of this other stuff, the drama that we've had in our family, my family. That's not their issue, okay? So how can they safely have a drink? What is the amount they can have? What is a way? And then we'll also talk about what are the alternatives, because there's no reason to have it if you don't need it. So,
You know, I tell my patients 2 to 3 normal-sized glasses of alcohol a week, that's probably okay. Except the studies with cancer showed any alcohol showed an increased risk.
and that's why I
And
stayed to like 2
so-
or 3 a month, like a couple a month for
I
me
think
is
2 or 3 a month is probably more rational. And then you have to go, if this is potentially harmful for me, why do I need it? What am I treating? And for a lot of people, it's social anxiety that, you know, they feel anxious in social situations, and alcohol is the grease. It just helps them feel more comfortable. So what are some of the other things you can do to help
So-
you feel more comfortable? And there are things, you know, we talk about regularly on the Brain Warriors Way: killing the ants, the automatic negative thoughts, the 18-40-60 rule, you know, not
Right.
thinking everybody's thinking about you because they're not. Meditation, hypnosis.
And so when we have parties, company parties, and we have family events, we don't have alcohol. So what are the things we do? I make a big giant thing of spot. When you make things pretty, it tends to draw people away from, because the brain is so visual, right? So we make large jars, get those really pretty large jars to serve water with, and make them beautiful. So I'll put cranberry, like a big string of cranberries inside of it, and some blueberries. You can even throw watermelon slices or something like that inside, and just a few drops of stevia. And so it just flavors it just a tad.
And sparkling water with stevia, with
Right,
a
in a
little
wine
bit
glass.
with a little bit of lime juice or lemon juice.
In a wine glass, looks
or
beautiful.
cranberry juice.
Right.
There's so many things
And tea.
you can do.
So one of the things I like is hot tea with some shaved ginger and cayenne, because it gives it a bite, so you'll sip it slowly. Those are some nice things
Or
that.
saffron, because that'll help your mood.
Yep.
Happy
So there's a
holidays.
whole section in the cookbook, Brain Warriors Way, on how to do that, if that's what you'd like to do.
Great. Happy holidays. Use the code podcast10 to get a 10% discount on a full evaluation at amenclinics.com or on our supplements at brainmdhealth.com. Thank you for listening to the Brain Warriors Way podcast. Go to iTunes and leave a review, and you'll automatically be entered into a drawing to get a free signed copy of the Brain Warriors Way and the Brain Warriors Way cookbook we give away every month.